Let's talk about the top 6 Scam Lightsaber Red Flags. So there are a lot of these Scam lightsabers or very inexpensive kind of cheap toy sabers that are popping up around the internet. A lot of them you'll see on Instagram, Facebook, other social media, places like that. And there are a lot of them around right now, you guys, probably because the Han Solo movie just came out, Solo, a Star Wars story. So let's talk about 6 red flags of scam lightsabers. So the first red flag is a suspiciously low price, so a really high discount, like 70% off. A lot of these scam lightsabers, these really cheap toy lightsabers, will be priced that way. They'll say that they cost or they retail for like $100 or more, and then today they're only $30. So that's a very common thing you'll see. If you're purchasing lightsabers that are legitimate, whether they're made by Hasbro, officially licensed like that, or whether they're from one of the custom saber companies, discounts that high are very rare. 70% off is just not something you see. It's more typical to see discounts maybe between 10 to 20%. That's pretty common. Otherwise, you need to have a special occasion, maybe like Star Wars Day, to get maybe a little bit of a higher discount. But even then, you guys, 20% off is more commonly kind of a maximum discount that you'll see. So keep your expectations in check. 70% off may be too good to be true. Another thing to look for, another red flag, is if there are no reviews for the website that's selling these so-called lightsabers or the actual product itself outside of the website itself. So if you type, in the company name, and there are a lot of different company names, you guys, if you type the company name into Google and you really can't find too much, that's a red flag. That's a bad sign. Because you really want to be well versed with, other people's experience with the company and the product. And if you can't find anything, that's highly suspicious. It could be just kind of one of these fly-by-night companies. And same goes for the product, because these different companies that sell these kind of cheap toy sabers like this, they will call it lots of different names. So, there's not one name that all of them will use. And so if you Google the name, whatever name you see, and you can't find any information or just very little information about the sabers, that's another very bad sign, a red flag that it's probably a scam or probably at least a bad deal. Okay, third thing to look for, you guys, is if the product page for the lightsaber or, the saber toy has just too much urgency. So a lot of marketers will use urgency, to try to get you to buy things, but the pages for these kind of scam lightsabers use a ton of it. So they'll use things like countdown clocks. They'll say today only. They'll say like, oh, we only have, 10 of them left. They'll usually use multiple tactics like this and make you feel like, oh man, I have to decide right now whether I'm going to, to purchase this. And they create that urgency so that you don't think about it, so that you don't Google the company or the product and kind of investigate a little more. So just keep that in mind. Do your due diligence, take a little bit of time. And a lot of these companies that do this, they'll say today only, but guess what? You'll find it tomorrow for the same price. So that's something that a lot of them do. Now, fourth red flag to look for is the site sells miscellaneous non-lightsaber products. And it'll be a site that you haven't heard of probably. The custom saber companies will almost exclusively sell lightsabers or lightsaber related products. Every now and then they'll have something a little different, but for the most part, like Ultra Sabers, Saberforge, Kyberlate, Solo's Hold, any of the major players, Vader's Vault, whatever, they almost exclusively sell lightsabers. And so they're not selling other random things like watches or just other products. So some of these sites that sell these toy kind of fake lightsabers, they'll just sell a bunch of different stuff. And, the lightsaber is just one thing. So that's something to look for. And of course, you have a site like Amazon that sells everything. I'm not talking about Amazon here. I'm talking about some site you've probably never heard of, and one of the items that they sell is something like this. Now, fifth thing to look for is, and this could be a little tricky for some people, to detect, but the fifth thing to look for is a lot of these scam lightsaber companies will use images and videos that they don't own. So they'll use images from Kyber Light or Ultra Sabers or Shahim, that was a big one, or like World Fencing Championships where they use kind of lightsabers. They'll use different videos and sometimes images too that don't belong to them. And also it's key that these videos and images don't include the actual product that you receive. So that's really the misleading part. You'll see images of Ultra Sabers, and then if you purchase the item, you would receive something more like this, which is not Ultra Sabers, you guys. This is just some cheap toy. So that's another big misleading thing to look for, although, I don't know, it may be hard to detect sometimes if you're not well versed in, some of the saber companies, but look for that anyway. And finally, one of the red flags, I sort of mentioned this at the beginning, is just that it's mentioned on social media. So some of the saber companies do advertise around the internet, and this red flag isn't enough of a red flag on its own, but I have noticed, and I'm sure you guys have too, that a lot of these scam lightsaber companies operate by routing through Facebook and Instagram and other social media. So if you see something advertised there, just at the very least take it with a grain of salt, do some research, Google the company, Google the product, all that good stuff. You want to watch out for that. So those are the top 6 red flags to look for that may indicate something is a scam lightsaber. And, it's just kind of one of these cheap kind of knockoff lightsaber toys like this. And okay, final thought with this, you guys. The toy itself isn't too bad, but the marketing behind it and the price point for what you get is not very good. So that's a final thought on this, and it's very unethical, especially in the cases where these companies are using all this imagery and videos that don't belong to them. That's just shameful. I mean, you shouldn't do that. It's not your content. Don't use it. But at any rate, these are just some of the warning signs, you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Where have you seen these different lightsabers? Do you have any additional tips that I've missed? Let me know.